been controlled since the day that they were civilized. The truth has been so heavily politicized. If you don't know who's controlling you and killing all the little guys, find out who you're not allowed to criticize.
This week,
Mr. Daniels.
how long have we had the moon base? And are these bears Earth bears, or are they from the moon?
I'm sorry, I'm not at liberty to disclose how long we have had this moon base at this time. We do believe these to be Earth bears. We have no reason to believe these to be lunar bears or even Saturn bears.
Todd Albright, PBS. There's Saturn bears?
I am also not at liberty to go into the various types of woodland life forms on Saturn or any of the other 12 planets.
9 planets.
Right. I've said too much already. What I can show you is the images that have been beamed down to us from the Odyssey satellite system just a couple hours ago. This is the view out of the front door of the United States secret moon base. This was taken yesterday before we discovered the bear problem. And this one was taken just a couple hours ago. So, as you can see, bears everywhere.
Mr. President,
Mr. Jackson.
yeah, those bears appear to have guns and motorcycles.
We believe they may be involved in some sort of intergalactic drug cartel, perhaps affiliated with one of the interstellar wizard alliances.
Wizard alliances?
Yes, next question.
Just a thought, more of a shot in the dark, but we wouldn't happen to be invading Iran today, would we?
You got me.
I fell for it. You almost got away with that one.
No, I went too far. I almost had it. I should have stopped after the slides. I knew I should have stopped
I didn't think anything about it until the cartel thing, and I was like, what?
Okay, all right, let's forget this whole thing. Who wants a drink? First round's on me. Come on.
Y'all are sheep. Buddha screams just part of the machine. Y'all are sheep. What do y'all believe? My sheep. Nothing's what it seems. Hollywood been rotting your brain, controlling your mouth. You say
We are in control because basically we are not a political organization. We are an occult organization. We're working behind the scenes to manipulate the way that people think. The war that we are waging is a guerrilla war on the human mind. And we use musical frequencies, the dominant frequency, which I've referred to before, and symbolism and imagery to awaken dormant aspects of the human mind. And what we're waging is a cultural war right now on every front, in music, in literature, utilizing the media against itself. And we're using music because that's the instrument that young people respond to right now. We're doing propaganda directly to awaken the wolf in man. Politics is merely the puppet show of human beings, and we transcend that, but we are interested in the control of human beings for our own purposes. We have no concern for the homeless, particularly. We don't have any concern in helping people. As Adolf Hitler said, we seek to bring about a youth that has closed its heart to pity. All of the humanist values that Judeo-Christianity has encouraged, we want to wipe them out. It's led to democracy, social humanism, the idea of equality. All of this filth has to be wiped out if the human race is going to continue to take the next step in evolution. We're only seeking individuals who are competent and who are willing to take action.
lies deep on the police so that there's big crime. To take away our freedom, to restore order they let die. Play with people, turn men into women. Make the counterculture mainstream to mix up the system.
Let me get this straight, just so we're all on the same page. Celebrity Jamie Lee Curtis's kid, trans. Dwayne Wade, trans. Naomi Watts, trans. Megan Fox, non-binary and trans. Cher, trans. Cynthia Nixon, trans. Marlon Wayans, trans. Charlize Theron, trans. Heather Dubrow, trans. Annette Bening, trans. Kari Payton, trans. Jennifer Lopez, trans. Busy Phillips, trans. And now, Robert De Niro's son, trans. Must be something in Hollywood's water.
They starve you with a lack of information and only give you facts through a branded corporation. Distort your worldview with an algorithm that changes based on propaganda curated for your engagement.
What would you do if you woke up black?
Blame everyone but myself for my failures.
Wait. That was AI, bro. Just getting realer and realer every day. People in the comments don't even know. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't know. They're like, wow. AI is going to be used to control a lot of people's minds, man. Because when it starts to look even more real, it's going to get bad, bro.
Do you see what I see? Notice this. Does that strike you as odd? A woman carrying a giant pile of rubble and barely looks like it weighs anything at all. Where have we seen this before? And I'm going to show you something else too. Carrying a giant bucket of rubble and then immediately setting it down off camera. Also, look, carrying it with one hand, as this guy struggles to carry his bucket because he's a better actor, right? We're going to watch this again. Notice something else. If you were here cleaning rubble, wouldn't you have some stains on you? Wouldn't you be a little bit dirty? Instead, they're perfectly clean and able to carry large blocks of rubble with complete ease. No problem at all. Tiny little woman carrying a giant block of rubble and a giant bucket of rubble with just one arm, completely clean, and then sets it down off camera right there.
Has anyone paid any mind or given any thought to the fact that law uses different definitions for our everyday common speech? Contract language is intentionally complex because it's designed to weaponize our dialect. And it's one of the most glaring indicators of mass indoctrination that we have. This is super important. Share this post like the wind, guys. Inverse meaning turns words into traps. So in contract language, the meaning of a common word is altered intentionally. Person does not mean human being. Consent means silence. May often means must. You agree is assumed at the moment you interact. Everyday language that we're taught in school is not the language of law, and yet we're bound by it, which is not a coincidence, rather a containment field that weaponizes our familiarity. They use obfuscation as control. The longer and more convoluted the sentence, the more compliance it can extract, which is exactly why most contracts are unreadable to the average person. So you're not dumb. It's just a language that was never designed to be read. It was designed to bind, not to be understood. The indoctrinated mind assumes complexity equals authority, so it surrenders. So we get the illusion of choice by using this reverse speaks. The system pretends to offer freedom while removing it. Terms like opt-in, voluntary compliance, or terms and conditions, they act like open doors but lead down corridors to cages. Indoctrination teaches people to skim, click, and agree without questioning the structure that demands their agreement in the first place, which is exactly how words become spellcraft and ritual. Legal language is a modern form of spellcasting, and this is more than a cute metaphor. It's etymology. Spelling, cursive, petition, motion, summons, these are all ritual terms. Judges wear robes. Courts are temples of commerce. Language here summons reality, often at the cost of your rights. But if you call it what it is, you're seen as fringe or a heretic. So we get no true translation. One of the most sinister markers of indoctrination is how few people even know that contract language has a completely different dictionary. Black's Law Dictionary, for example, defines the operational meaning behind legal terms. But it's not taught in school, it's not a part of civics, and that omission is surgical, because it maintains the power gap between those inside it and those who are offered to it, which enforces illiteracy. People think they speak English, but we don't. Not really. We speak a dialect of domesticated consent, and the systems that rule them speak an entirely different tongue, hidden inside the same words. This linguistic bait and switch is the clearest sign that you're not dealing with an accident. You're dealing with a system that's built on trickery, enforced by our own misunderstandings. If language is the operating system, then contract language is the malware that mimics our tongue, uses our trust, and reroutes our rights into privileges and our existence into a product. We could take this further too, with how the language shows up in governments' oaths, corporate policies, birth certificates, and land use agreements, or so-called environmental regulations. Maybe another time, though.
Usually, what you put in your mouth is the factor. People say they're eating a soul food diet, but they're not eating the herbs. They went with that diet. Maple leaves, you follow me? Slippery elm bark. You may have heard of these things. But we're just eating the food, but not doing the self-defense thing that our ancestors were doing. We know that so many worms come with ham, and we know cloves kill worms. So they put the honey on the ham, and the worms come up to eat the honey, and the cloves kill them. That's why they had those little things on the maps look like on ham, and they put the honey on it and put the cloves in it to kill the worms. They were doing a lot of preventive stuff that we are not doing. We just, oh, that's just some silliness. No. They know there's a lot of worms in this pork. Put some cloves there. The liver's going to take away the stress on the heart because the liver's going to break down fats from fried foods, baked foods. So they said, let me take something for my liver. Dandelion. You heard of dandelion salad? So we do the hawthorn berries to strengthen the heart muscle. We use hawthorn berries to do that, to strengthen the heart muscle itself. Ginger root, blood thinners, horseradish, blood thinners. They were taking a heck of a lot of things as preventive. But we're not doing all that stuff, so you got to do the blood thinners. That's ginger root, horseradish, black radish, red radish. I'm trying to name things that people can get without going through a whole lot of changes. And we do know fruits thin the blood. All fruits, cucumbers, it doesn't matter. If it's a fruit, it's going to thin the blood. They didn't put cucumbers in the salad because of decoration. They were doing a lot of things. We just, said those are the old people. They do that.
Did you know that when you order fried food from a restaurant like chicken, french fries, onion rings, or chips with salsa, did you know that the oil they're frying these foods in is reused up to 100 times? So it's reheated 100 different times. Do you know how much oxidation that creates? How many free radicals that's going to create in the body? Or how much inflammation that's going to create? Problems with your glands, your hormones, your nervous system, your heart. These seed oils that everybody's talking about, like soy, corn oil, canola, sunflower, are very inflammatory, especially if you're reheating them over and over like they do in the restaurant industry. These inflammatory oils are literally stuck in your cells for up to 2 years, unless you know what to do about it.
The most dangerous food in your kitchen isn't ice cream, bacon, or even gluten. It's something you use almost every day, something that builds up in your liver, your brain, and your nervous system. It's full of hexane, a solvent also found in gasoline. This substance is rancid, oxidized, and acts like rust inside your body. It can take up to 2 years to be fully eliminated, and the more you cook with it, the more toxic it becomes. It produces byproducts that attack your tissues, worsen inflammation, and over time can lead to internal scarring and fibrosis. It's linked to chronic fatigue, brain fog, sleep problems, and inner restlessness. And yet, most people don't even think about it because this food hides in plain sight. It disrupts your hormones, drains your energy, and keeps you in a constant state of stress. We're talking about industrial seed oils, corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil. These highly processed oils are found in almost everything today, from protein bars to salad dressings. Many are extracted using hexane, a chemical solvent your body cannot process. These oils accumulate in your tissues, cause silent inflammation, and throw your entire system out of balance. And that's where Shilajit comes in. Shilajit is a powerful natural substance from the Himalayas, rich in bioavailable minerals, fulvic acid, and trace elements. It's been used for centuries in Ayurvedic medicine to support the body through physical and emotional stress. Unlike caffeine or artificial stimulants, Shilajit brings your body into balance naturally. It supports healthy cell function, improves nutrient absorption, regulates energy production in your mitochondria, and acts as an antioxidant. Many of my clients take a small dose every morning. 2 weeks later, they come back telling me they feel like a new person. Their skin glows, their mood is stable, and they're finally sleeping deeply through the night. And the best part? They haven't changed anything else. No diet, no coffee, no cutting sugar, just pure, purified Shilajit. No fillers, no additives, no synthetic ingredients. The type of Shilajit I recommend is the one developed by the Wellness Nest research team. Trust me, you won't be disappointed.
The claim. Stars rotate in opposite directions on a globe. Let's challenge this idea. Using Google Earth, we rotate the globe and recognize all the stars moving in one direction. Doesn't matter what direction I rotate this model, all the stars move in one uniform pattern. This model debunks the globe religion claims. The flat Earth is a 24-hour clock. The planisphere is also a 24-hour clock. This portion is the observer's point of view. Also seen here on the Flat Earth app. Horizon placement illustrates that this tool is based on our personal field of view. Same as the Flat Earth app. Let this gentleman explain.
Next thing to bring to your attention really is the horizon element, the horizon index, which is this yellow line all the way around the star field. And you can see we're showing western horizon over here, eastern horizon over here, southern horizon up here, and northern horizon down here. Actually rotate obviously around this fixed rivet point here.
And that fixed point is Polaris, the North Star. This planisphere also debunks separate star rotations. Notice the equator and the Tropic of Capricorn. This would indicate all star rotations move east to west around Polaris. To show the Tropic of Capricorn on this clock face completely obliterates the globe religion.
This burger killer is feeding the whole humanitarian system behind him.
Today I'm going to plan my trip. Fly from Brisbane, Perth to Cape Town to Buenos Aires. Let's start at Brisbane on the 153rd longitude. 153rd, and then the 27 latitude south. That would be somewhere around here. Now let's move to Perth on the 115th longitude. On the 15 longitude, and on the 31st latitude south. That would be somewhere here. Cape Town, 18th longitude. Cape Town, 18th longitude, and the 33rd latitude south. Somewhere around here. Now let's move to Buenos Aires on the 58th longitude west. longitude west, and then we have to go to the 34 latitude south. That would be somewhere around here. So we went from here to here, and then to Buenos Aires. Let's see how that look like. So that looks pretty spot on over all those long distances. This retard baller is telling us long range navigation don't work on the fault open globe. I just show you can navigate blindly on the fault open globe. And Australia is the correct size according to the coordinates. It looks bigger, but in fact it's the same size. You can calculate the coordinates just like I did. Australia is the correct size, just like everything on this map, according to the coordinate system. It's so funny how those idiot ballers fight their own map. He's saying there are no flat earth maps that are accurate. And you think the Cleveland is a flat earth map, and Australia is the wrong size? There are no flat earth maps that are even close to accurate. How can it be close to accurate if there aren't any flat earth maps? Huh? This retard say Australia is 4 to 5 times bigger. This is a total imbecile. How can these two coordinates between Brisbane and Perth be 5 times bigger? It's the correct size. You fucking Brad A, you piece of shit. You're just stupid. The Cleveland map is your globe map, flattened out, and you're fighting it.
We'll start now. So, maps and coordinate systems. We're going to get through this real quick. Projected coordinate systems and types of projections, as well as celestial coordinates based on angles to the stars, the idea of celestial curvature. The coordinate system transformed from geographic to celestial, the one-for-one correspondence. We're going to roll right into astrogeodetics. And then the differences between a sphere of observation and hemisphere with spherical coordinates and the circumference values being the same, as well as into cosmography. So, Mortal One did a good job pointing out a null hypothesis. We're going to go ahead and try to falsify this, right? So if our H naught is the Earth is planar, measurements of curvature are dependent on the position of celestial bodies, we're going to try and falsify this. So the Earth is globular, measurable of curvature independent of celestial bodies. So on to maps. Maps are projected coordinate systems, as we touched on, but didn't quite specify. A coordinate system itself would just be a spatial reference system of nothing, right? To give it meaning or oomph, it needs a datum. A datum is what would tie a coordinate system to real location on Earth, such as WGS-84, which is the World Geodesic System of 1984. There are others that we can go through, but this is what we're going to start with. So the father of maps, Ptolemy, right, in his book Geographia, the oldest known book on cartography, he put forth that in order to start understanding maps, you have to understand the two-sphere model of the cosmos. That is, the terrestrial and celestial spheres that are one for one of each other. So what are maps? They're actually projected coordinate systems. When you say globe, every map is just projecting the globe, that's not quite accurate for either side. To be clear, my position is that maps don't actually prove the shape of the Earth either way, because they're so tied up in a coordinate system that is no doubt spherical, called longitude and latitude, also referred to as the geographic graticule. Graticule meaning the gridded network of latitude and longitude, which is, of course, based on the hemispherical observations of the sky. If you look like this, we're looking at the stars as they rise and set. That's what we're basing it on. The globe is the same idea with the same examples, just as the hemispherical view at any given point, they represent it in this celestial sphere. They're showing you that it's related based on the equatorial plane, where you can make any observation and then do a transform based upon the universal unifier called the equator, which is projected off the terrestrial equator, which is dictated from angles to the sun. So we have the sky coordinate system, again, being used to make a one-for-one transform to that of the Earth. At the end of the day, what we're left with is this. This is the celestial sphere. This is the skeleton of the globe. This is the infrastructure grid the longitude and latitude is derived from, of course, based on these observations. Now, before we get into it, just know they're making it complicated on purpose, right? It's simpler than they're making it. If we have coordinate systems that are based on angles to the stars, then we would need a geodetic datum to tie them to a point in reality. And of course, we would do that with what we called spherical datums. We're going to get into how we make geodetic datums, how we verify geodetic datums, what they're based on and in, how they calculate it, what they're made from, how they're verified, etc. And a couple of them read NADS 83, it's also NADS 72. We're going to go through these spherical datums as they were created. Of course, how you would make a reference ellipsoid. The two parameters that we went over would be the semi-major axis and the flattening factor, right? This ellipsoid parameter and then this ellipsoid parameter. That's what defines ellipsoid models. How you actually create them, as in the old times, they were measured by meridian arcs. We know from our looking into meters and the history of the meter and history of geodesy and the history of geodetic surveying, that when you measure a meridian arc, you actually measure, both with actual tools on the surface, a very small percentage of what you then calculate based on latitude and geodetic observations. So moving right along, we have our datums that we're going to be talking about. Of course, here's the flattening factor. This is the first one. And then here's the flattening over here. So this is how you compare ellipsoid models. That's how they get swapped in and out. Of course, you would tie it to a point and then rotate it around that point to coincide to the origin. And that's how you get this sort of one-for-one transform. Now, they make corrections to these to make sure that they align. Of course, as we went over the geoid and the ellipsoid, geoid is the gravipotential, so it's the only shape that needs a relationship with the direction of gravity, right? Because on a geoid, everyone has a different down. Down becomes a big problem. The direction perpendicular to gravity necessitates down for everyone. That is the point of the geoid. And then you have the ellipsoid, which is the horizontal datum component of what we're going to be using for all of our comparisons, derived from observations of Earth, right? This is going to be derived from longitude and latitude. It's literal contrived as a model. The ellipsoid itself is based on latitude and longitude, and then measurements of longitude, which is the meridian arc transfer that we went through before. So how are geodetic datums verified? Well, besides this tide gauge means sea level, meaning that they take a whole bunch of vertical datums that are tied to horizontal sea level that then match to the surface of the ellipsoid, and they string along until they actually create curved out of level. They take level, sea level datums, and they wrap them around the ellipsoid model to make sea level curve. So when they say sea level is curved, this is how they're doing that. Of course, they always say that it confirms itself because it reifies itself, right? Within the model, we're going to reify, assume the model is real. The ellipsoid model within here is just inferred and then checked that actually isn't real. How you would actually validate it is what they use the deflection of the vertical. It's actually a form of geodesy, a subset called astrogeodesy or astrogeodetics. And the deflection of the vertical is actually known as the astrogeodetic deflection, which is the difference between these two created models, the ellipsoid and the geoid, at any given point where they're trying to compare gravity vector and again dealing with that pesky situation of where is down. So how do you confirm a geodetic datum? Well, you measure from meridian arcs. Here's a book from on geodesy from published in Oxford on the Clarendon Press from my boy Bromford. And he says that, look, you have to measure deduced from arcs. Not saying you measure an arc, it's that you deduce it from an arc. So you exhibit the geoidal form by contours by showing its height above any regional spheroid, and then a best fitting spheroid may be subsequently used as a datum. Okay, so Dear's figure is deduced from geoidal survey, so they do triangulation. So how do you measure a meridian arc? Well, famously, you find a line of longitude, and this is how they actually use the geodesy to determine Earth shape, which is a difficult proposition because in order to do this, you need to know an Earth shape, so you have to have an ellipsoid. So you have is an astronomical determination of latitude. The first thing you do is you, based on your elevation angle to the star, you're going to use the celestial to get your latitude. You're going to go there, you're going to survey a distance, you're going to measure with a rod or a stick or a chain. You're going to get a very small amount of that. Here's how they would calculate it based on that. You're going to get a small portion of this measurement, about a few kilometers they're going to measure. That's 1% of the arc they're claiming to measure. And then the rest of it you calculate based on these wonderful calculations that we were just looking at. That would actually either use the Earth radius to get the spheroidal version or the length of the arc between the latitudes. So that's how that's born. They measure a very little kilometers and then they just assume. So all this is to say is based on observation that the hemisphere is the same as the sphere. This is never observed. This is based on two hemispheres of observation. If alt-as is only that's all that's ever observed, and then you use alt-as observations to create the celestial sphere, from that you then create the globe. So you have the similarities between a spherical reference system and a hemispherical reference system, which is the fundamental plane. When things go below the fundamental plane and when you can't see them or they're rotating out of sight at a circle of equal circumference, then you can describe them the same spherically with a negative fundamental plane value. So right ascension declination is the celestial coordinate system. It is what is imposing curvature. The only thing that shows curvature is this. This is the celestial system. It's based on angles to the stars, which gives us longitude and latitude, which is, of course, the spherical grid. This is reverse engineered from observations of the sky, corrections over long distances, and then astrodemic and geodetic measurements is what gives us the globe based on these measurements. Now, when it comes to maps, so you have this is the projected coordinate system, longitude and latitude. It is the sphere, the skeleton, the infrastructure from which you get the graticule, which is different and separate from the Earth. It needs to be tied to the Earth via a datum, which we've already explored. So properties of the graticule itself, which then get projected into these families of projections, which have the various distortions that our buddy Mortal One covered so adequately. So it's not that it's projecting a sphere that's causing these distortions, it's because that the coordinate system itself is spherical, and that's what's tying it to it. Remember the age-old question of, look, they took the flat map and wrapped it around the globe, and the globe, nah, man, they took the globe and wrapped it around the flat map. And they had arguing back and forth better and better, and you keep comparing globe data to globe data. Well, what's the answer? None. They're both projections. This is an orthographic projection of the celestial coordinate system, which is right here. And then we have a flat projection of the celestial coordinate system, right? So it's the same comparison. It's the same. This is what we call Tissot's indicatrix. That's a really tough one to say. It's comparison how a map would distort it in either way. These are all the same size on the orthographic projection, and this would show you how it distorts. But again, this is an aspect, an artifact of this, not that the Earth being a sphere. Of course, traversing on the Earth can be represented in multiple ways. Moving along can be represented on the celestial, which of course starts with this, but can be transformed to this, which gives us our map projections, which then get turned into this, which is how we're arguing.
So the question is, if you're using old school rhumb lines and compass rose in an old map and Boolean charts, then can you just make an observation of a star and calculate where you are? You can even do this today. You're supposed to use, 2 to 3 observations of a star, compute circles of equal altitude. Based on where those intersect on the graticule, you can plot your position. But if you were to make an assumption of, say, in the northern hemisphere, if your star equals your elevation angle, like Polaris, then you have a component that you wouldn't need the 2 intersections for, and you can actually do some calculations to figure out where you are based on a single observation. So if we can do that today, then the question is, through 100 BC through 1712, with people who have wonderful charts with the compass rose and a Rumline network, making stellar observations to their star with a nice chronometer or even any sort of timepiece, then why would anyone need the globe? Why would anyone need a unified longitude system to have these crashes not happen if everyone's mapping the world with local shorelines, right? I would argue that that's completely fabricated as a need, and that this whole thing was a problem, reaction, solution sort of iteration. So then, of course, we have celestial and terrestrial sphere being 1-for-1 to each other. That is the premise of the presentation. Of course, premise of the modern global model. We know that it's a 1-for-1 correlation with the celestial sphere because the datum that we have here, the WGS84, is literally latitude and longitude defined as the Earth, and then we have it mapped to the sky. So, of course, as we said in the beginning, neither one of these are real. These are conceptual spheres. We have the story of 2 conceptual spheres here, the terrestrial and celestial sphere, when put together, would make the globe model. Now, we know that both celestial spheres based on observations like this, the hemisphere view, anywhere you see, and then your local horizon, elevation angles off that. From these observations, they create spherical coordinate systems with unifying factors like the celestial equator. In this case, you can use a galactic equator. Without a unifier, like a unifying equator, then there's no way to relate, say, observations of way south to observations to a friend way north. Your local alt-as coordinates wouldn't mean anything unless you can convert them based on a central unifier. So from that, we have alt-as, or altitude, azimuth, and horizon, which is the basic coordinate system of flat Earth, I would say. And then you have right ascension declination, which is the celestial sphere, which is the 1-for-1 correlation of what you observe in your alt-as. So both of these are based on flat baselines, and both are spherical models that have math to sort of predict a z component that is negative when the celestial observation goes, quote, beneath your feet. This is based on the circumference of this circle, but if the star is just traveling on Earth on the same circumference, and as it rises and sets, as it comes and goes, then the circumference is the same, and that's why the prediction of a abstract spherical coordinate system makes total sense on flat Earth. So again, we have alt-as. This is the basic coordinate system of flat Earth. You make observations from the sky in the middle, and then from that you create these 2 coordinate systems in their entirety. Now, what they're really based on, though, and what it is at its heart, and if we bring it back to cosmography, it's based on the stars. This is the whole, you can create the whole globe model from this picture right here. This is just the sky, right? It's the celestial spheres flattened out on a Mercator-like projection. Perhaps we're more comfortable with it represented like this, right? We have the outline of the continents. We can see that the stars at a certain spot, each one has its own latitude and then rotates around the Earth. From this, we created the whole backbone of the model. This is, of course, the same sort of image. We have the same star picture. You can see the Milky Way. You can see the celestial path. It's the path of the sun and the moon. Portrayed a little differently, say on a orthographic globe, it looks like this. Same data. You can see the globe almost forming. On actual orthographic, it would look like this. And again, just a regular star constellations map with our zodiac constellations over here in the middle. If we were to say get the globe from that and wrap it around a globe, it would look just like this, or like this, which is, of course, the globe model. This is the northern hemisphere and then the southern hemisphere, right? On a sort of an AE projection. And this would be how the stars are. They appear at the same latitude and they always kind of rotate. But you look at a projection map like this and they'd be like, oh, look at this wonderful globular projection. And you're like, yeah, but this looks just like the star map. What do you mean? If I was going to do a double hemisphere star map, this is how I'd want to project it, right? I want to project it like this. So I thought it was kind of a goof that they would put, say, the land masses in where the stars would be, And then I realized, oh, well, it doesn't matter. They're interchangeable. Holy crap, it's the same thing. If you just keep looking at it, then if every star has a position on the ground and is inextricably linked, then if you're looking at it like this, right, if it's just spinning, then every star as it goes has a different right ascension. So if this star circles around, it's at the same latitude the whole time. It's based on 24 hours. So that's why you take 24 and you divide it by 360 and you get the actual sidereal 15 degrees per hour. That's how this works. It's at the same latitude and perpetuity for everyone, but at a different time. It's particularly good because you can see the zodiac. The thing you notice is that once you do this, the zodiac becomes visible for everyone. You can see that if it's this middle band of stars, then no matter where you are on the Earth, if you can see half of the Earth anywhere you are in the Earth, then this band in the middle is visible to everyone no matter where you are. And this one kind of really shows it, right? Here's the zodiac constellations as they are on the Mercator. Here would they be spread around the orthographic globe. And then here's the comparison where on the AE or on a flat Earth, these constellations would be visible to everyone everywhere. Same thing. I went through old school star maps. If you look at them today, they're presented like this: northern and southern hemisphere. And if we're remembering how the graticule can be presented and looking at it just like this, then we can see that it's actually the backbone. They're all the backbone of the same thing. This one specifically, you start to see all the patterns coming out, and you see the terrestrial and celestial sphere as the backbone for everything. Some of the older ones like this have pictures, right? The pictures represent the constellations, and they sort of have them on a zodiac wheel, but they're in their correct position in the northern and southern hemispheres. So no matter how you're looking at it, the celestial sphere mapping out has always given us the terrestrial sphere. And the two-sphere model that we're talking about integrates celestial and terrestrial coordinates to map the observable world, also known as cosmography. And again, we have the celestial sphere being contrived off hemispherical observations on a flat plane. And then you have your terrestrial sphere, the self-referential framework, internally consistent ellipsoidal model based on measuring meridian arcs and calculated from terrestrial latitude. And from those two together, you get the globe. Only to those two together, right? Only mixed together do you get the third conceptual sphere, the globe Earth. And that's pretty much all I got.
Do they only get the 3959 from 69 degrees per nautical mile?
3959, the radius, is actually never measured itself, right? They get that from the circumference, which they measure from sun angles. The Eratosthenes method is still like the best known method to quote measure the Earth's circumference. If you ask McToon, if you tell McToon no one's ever measured the Earth's radius, he'll be like, no, I have. And if you ask him how, it's because he took sun angles to the star to calculate to the sun rather, to calculate the circumference, right? And then from the circumference you get the radius plus 2 pi r, and then that's how you get the quote confirmation of 3959 is through sun angles and circumference.
Through sun angles.
Yep, only through sun angles. That's the world's best radius measurement system.
And to add to your question, Beast, so the celestial sphere is infinite radius, right? But then when you want to use it with the terrestrial sphere, you have to merge the two. So they do a geocentric coordinates transformation, which is where they're using that fictitious lad in the center to set all their zenith measurements to stars at 3959 at that calculated radius based on the position of the sun. So
it's definitely all
based
related.
on the position of the sun. Wow.
Dude,
So how would you be able to tell the difference if it looks the same on Baal or on planar?
Very good question. My position is you wouldn't, right? You wouldn't be able to tell the difference either way, which is how it's been such a convincing story.
So I was told because the
There
Earth
is
is
one-
mapped. If the Earth is mapped on a sphere, that means we live on a sphere. So are there any observations that do give you any type of exclusive evidence one way or the other?
Right. Well, as soon as you look for like surface of Earth curving, you end up a flat earther because there's none of it. It's never happened. And that's the big contention with all of the model is that actual Earth measurements never come up sphere, always come up flat. Only when you reference in relation to the sky can you even abstractly infer curvature. And that's how the whole thing sort of is built. But the celestial sphere having an infinite radius is a cop out, right? What that really is a mathematical equivalence of a flat plane with angles to the stars, because
Exactly.
infinite radius is just conceptually flat. So they trick you into thinking, oh, the sphere is so big it's infinite. Okay, well, what's a sphere that's infinitely curved? Oh, it's flat. It's a flat baseline. Okay, I get it. You guys got me right. Like, good trick, everyone. The celestial sphere is actually just flat Earth elevation angles. But the other thing that got me is Ptolemy also came up with this flattening of the sphere. He wrote the planispherium. He's like, you know how you get out a spherical coordinate system and put it on a flat plane? Boom, wrote a whole book about it. So he
The
was
celestial plane, flattening of a sphere.
Yep.
The
Planispherium.
planispherium.
I haven't read this one, but I'm gonna look into it. It might be good.
Yeah, I'm gonna download that right now.
That's the it's pretty genius as a trick.
Well, plus also they said that when Einstein said that whether you think the stars are moving, the Earth are moving, you can still use this and you'll still get there. Shouldn't this be exclusive for the globe? I mean, if we're spinning, you shouldn't be able to use it if it's flat and it's stationary.
Well, as we saw with the celestial theodolite, all globe predictions start off with flat Earth baseline and then
flat baselines.
Celestial corrections from there, right? Model corrections, best fit lines, spheres. So without the flat Earth starting point, there is no globe anyway. I think we see that all the way through.
Today I've made a video with Professor Dave, and he's going to answer a few questions for me. Let's get started. Number one, the Big Bang event is a physical theory, and I emphasize the word theory, presented in 1927 by Georges Lemaitre. He was a Belgian Catholic priest, theoretical physicist, mathematician, astronomer, and professor of physics at the Catholic University of Louvain. He was the first to theorize that the recession of nearby galaxies can be explained by an expanding universe caused by a Big Bang, which was an initial state of high density and temperature. This is on the same level as a fairy tale. Actually, when you think about it, the term Big Bang sounds more like the name of a porno movie. Seriously, Debbie Does Dallas, Behind the Green Door, The Big Bang. So tell me, Dave, do you have any facts for us that can prove the Big Bang actually happened?
It's just a theory.
Number two, dark energy is a theoretical, repulsive, invisible force that counteracts the theory of gravity and causes the universe to expand at an accelerating rate. Dark matter is a hypothetical, and I stress the word hypothetical, form of matter thought to account for approximately 85% of the matter in the universe.
Dark matter, dark energy. We don't know what dark matter is. It's 85% of the gravity of the universe is dark matter. It's something we don't know what it is. So we just call it dark matter. We don't know what. The universe has some pressure in the vacuum that's making it accelerate in its expansion against the wishes of gravity. We don't know what that is either. We call that dark energy. This sounds like we know something. We don't. So everything we know about the universe, what we're made of, galaxies, stars, planets, that's all right here. So according to this chart, we are 96% stupid in the universe.
Can you give us any actual facts that back any of this nonsense?
It's just a theory.
Number three, a black hole is a supposed region of space-time where gravity is so strong that nothing, including light or other electromagnetic waves, has enough energy to escape its event horizon. The theory, and I emphasize again the word theory, of general relativity predicts that a sufficiently compact mass can deform space-time to form a black hole. So, if it weren't for the theory of relativity, we wouldn't have theories about black holes. It's as simple as that. Black holes are nothing but science fiction one would see in the movies. Do you have any facts or any proof at all that black holes even exist?
It's just a theory.
Number 4, the theory of relativity encompasses two interrelated theories, and again, I emphasize theory, by Albert Einstein, special relativity and general relativity, proposed and published in 1905 and 1915. The theory of special relativity applies to all physical phenomena in the absence of gravity. The theory of general relativity explains the law of gravitation and its relation to the forces of nature. It applies to the cosmological and astrophysical realm, including astronomy. Again, everything about relativity is only theory. Do you have any facts that prove relativity isn't just theoretical?
It's just a theory.
Number 5, in physics, theoretical gravity is a supposed fundamental interaction which causes mutual attraction between all things with mass or energy. This is a biggie for you, Dave, because without gravity, everything that you defend about your theoretical universe crumbles into dust. Newton's law of gravity doesn't provide any explanation of what gravity is and states that bodies with mass attract each other with a force that varies directly as the product of their masses and inversely as the square of the distance between them. The law only explains how it works. Newton's law of gravity is not universal. It fails near very strong gravitational fields, such as supposed theoretical black holes. It's also considered false when gravitational fields are very weak, for example, in atoms. Undoubtedly, Einstein's theory of general relativity surpasses Newton's law of universal gravitation when gravity is extremely strong, but also fails when talking about atoms. Einstein's theory of general relativity narrates that planets and stars, any matter, bend the fabric of space, generating gravity as a result of bending. But in this theory, there's no explanation of what the fabric of space consists of and what its fundamental properties are. Hence, this is where we get the theory of dark matter. Today, it's not known what gravity really is. There are ideas that can be calculated, but gravity still remains a theory. The problem with gravity is no one's ever seen it. No one knows what it is. Some think there are graviton particles that make up gravity, but no one's ever found these particles, and no one can prove gravity exists with any experiments. And no, dropping a microphone from your hand to the floor and stating that this is gravity does not prove gravity exists.
This is Star Talk.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
NASA, scientists, and even Neil deGrasse Tyson have admitted all of these things about gravity. So, Dave, do you have any facts at all that prove gravity exists? Because if you do, then you're the only person on Earth that does.
It's just a theory.
Number 6. Here's the last question for you, Dave. Is there any proof that oceans curve around a globe? The Red Bull jump showed a flat horizon at 128,000 feet above the surface of the Earth. You have to have curvature to have a sphere. I see zero proof of oceans curving around a globe or any kind of curvature for that matter. What do you think, Professor Dave?
It's just a theory.
Let's be clear what theory is. A theory is an established model for why or how a given phenomenon occurs. It's an explanation of observed regularities. Theories are developed based on observing similar outcomes over and over again. But as one can see, all of these things mentioned in this video are merely theories. If we actually had facts proving all of this without a shadow of a doubt, we wouldn't be calling these theories, now would we? There's no factual science that proves the Earth is a spinning globe or proves any of the other narratives in this video that NASA and scientists spew out. There's zero proof of any of this because
It's just a theory.